Live from Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. ABC's NFL Monday Night Football is brought to you by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome to San Francisco's Candlestick Park. From the noise behind me, you can hear that there is almost a festival atmosphere in this, one of the most beautiful cities in the whole world, with its gingerbread buildings and its hills and its cable cars and everything that Tony Bennett has described in his classic song. The atmosphere is exciting because, one, San Francisco fans hope for an upset. Two, they're elated at the opportunity of seeing the flashiest, most spectacular rookie in the National Football League, a fellow named Tony Dorsett, who set a Dallas rushing record a week ago with 206 yards gained in one game. Tom Landry is always a concerned coach because he senses a kind of decline in his team that's not apparent to the average fan. He's troubled by the loss to St. Louis here on a Monday night, by the crunching by Pittsburgh, by a tough game against Philadelphia. He wants things righted with Denver coming up next week. He wants to be ready for the playoffs. As for San Francisco, a terrible start. The departure of the popular coach Monty Clark, the ascension of Joe Thomas, and then after that terrible start, 4 victories in a row, and the growing realization that Joe Thomas was the man who did so much to build the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins, and the Baltimore Colts. So now the interest is revived. Things have changed. To amplify on the subject of the Dallas Cowboys, nobody better than the man I'm about to introduce, with a new head garb that makes him a transplanted Londonite from Texas. Dandy Don Meredith.
Transplanted Londonite. There you go again. I think the Cowboys are a kind of team, or they have been in the past, that if things get to going too good, they'll figure out a way to mess it up because they need a little bit of pressure. They got off to a real good start, couldn't find anybody to give them really that good a ball game for about the first 8 weeks. Then they hit kind of a slack. Call it overconfident, whatever it is. Then they did kind of hit a little bit of slump. Roger Staubach got hurt a hip, hurt a thumb. And I think when Roger's not going really well, that's going to be the big problem with their offense. Their defense usually plays pretty well. Actually, when you look at Dallas and say, what is wrong with them? They're number 1 offense, number 1 in defense, so maybe it's not too much of anything. But they have hit a little slump. I think a lot of it is Roger's thumb, hip. He needs to put it together a little bit better. He mentioned, Howard mentioned old Jim Plunkett over at San Francisco. He's had a pretty tough year, but he's getting it back together, don't you think?
What? That's really weird.
Oh, well.
You're really weird.
I was going to say the hat ain't the only thing on here.
Like Howard said on your cowboy hat. Jim Plunkett came out here a year ago. He came from New England. He came for 3 #1 draft picks, a pretty solid quarterback in Tom Owen, and he had, quite frankly, a very inadequate year, an average year for Jim Plunkett, the former Heisman Award winner who came in so strong when he came into the league back in 1972. He was the Rookie of the Year. Had 4 good years with New England, injuries, and then problems last year. He has some good offensive weapons, however. Del Williams, number 24, over 1,000 yards rushing last year. Del Williams, a good running back, 4 years out of Kansas. And Wilbur Jackson, a former All-American from the University of Alabama. He's over 700 yards, so there are some strong offensive weapons the 49ers can go to. They really have nothing to lose tonight. They are playing perhaps the best team in football tonight, so they'll turn it loose. They're not going to be in the playoffs, but they'll have some fun tonight. And we'll be back with the kickoff after this.
Bob Farrell scored first for the 49ers in the first quarter. 1-yard run after a drive. 7-0 San Francisco in the second quarter. Staubach on with a 1-yard run. Herrera the kick, 7-7. And then a brilliant screen pass play. Staubach to Preston Pearson, 36 yards, touchdown, 14-7. And after that, San Francisco tied it. Plunkett to Kenny Harrison. And then on the ensuing kickoff, a great kick run by Butch Johnson, setting up a 20-yard pass from Staubach to Dorsett, who had Vanderbunt one-on-one, no contest. The Cowboys leading 21-14. Quickly, let's get to our weekly halftime feature, the Halftime Highlights, which are brought to you by Commercial Credit, a financial service of Control Data Corporation. Let's watch. The Louisiana Superdome, Tampa Bay against the Saints. John McKay growing more whitehead every year against Hank Stram. Archie Manning said it would be a disgrace to lose to Tampa Bay. Here's Bobby Scott passing. Deflected. Picked off by Richard Wood. One of 6 Tampa Bay interceptions on the day. Here's another. The pass deep intended for Thaxton. Thrown by Manning. Intercepted by Mike Washington. 40. Heady lateral there to Cedric Brown, number 34. The score 3-0 Tampa Bay at the time. And Cedric Brown comes back downfield 27 yards. Late in the second quarter, Tampa Bay leading 6-0. Gary Huff back to pass. Hits Morris Owens. Touchdown, 13-0. And the trend continued early in the third quarter. Bobby Scott back to pass. Intercepted by Mike Washington again, number 40. He breezes in for the touchdown. Tampa Bay a 20-0 lead. Then, on the second play of the fourth quarter, with that 20-0 lead, once again, Bobby Scott back to pass. He tries to hit Tony Galbraith, but watch. Intercepted again by number 54, Richard Wood. He storms in for the touchdown. That made it 26-0. Let's have another look at that play in slow motion. Wood jubilant. He's a disciple of McKay, a graduate of USC. Scott back to pass, looking for Galbraith. But Wood anticipated, reading the play beautifully, obviously. Goes on in for the touchdown. So it was, as I said, 26-0. Then, late in the fourth quarter, with Tampa Bay leading 26-7, Archie Manning was back in. If he said it was a disgrace to lose to Tampa Bay, he was part of it. He passes in the end zone, blocked by Glenn Robinson. Garnered in by Greg Johnson, 72, touchdown, 33-7, and the final score was 33-14. The first win in 27 games for the Buccaneers, and 8,000 fans greeted the team in Tampa last night. Willie Lanier and Jim Lynch, 63 and 51. Their announced retirement caused them to be honored at Arrowhead Stadium. But then against Seattle in a wild game, the score 7-7. Jim Zorn looking for a receiver. But Gary Barbaro picks it off in the end zone, and watch him go! All the way downfield. The downfield blocking is there. And it's 102 yards for a touchdown that ties an NFL record. So that made it 14-7 Kansas City. But as I said, a wild game, 10 turnovers, 5 by each team. Midway in the second quarter, Kansas City leading 21-20. Jim Zorn right there to Sherman Smith. Touchdown. Seattle goes ahead 27-21. Zorn's 15th touchdown pass of the year. What an explosive game. This footage designed to show you exactly that. Tony Adams in now for Kansas City. Hits Larry Brunson. He's the fourth-year man from Colorado, number 83. And he moves on downfield for a 63-yard gain. And in the long run, it was trouble for Kansas City. Late in the second quarter, Seattle leading 27-21. Mike Livingston pass, intercepted by Dave Brown. Returned 27 yards, touchdown. That made it 34-21 Seattle at halftime. They held on to win 34-31.
A little girl comes home to a house that will shelter her through the years. Give her warmth, give her comfort and safety. A house that will continue to give, so that when she's grown, her dreams can become a reality.
Thank you, Professor.
You can use the money you put into your home with a second mortgage loan for the important things. Commercial credit finds ways to help.
It was an unbelievably bitter cold day in Soldier Field, Chicago. Wind chill factor -7 degrees. But not too cold for the Bears. Midway first quarter. Score 0-0. Avellini to number 89. James Scott, 11-yard play. Touchdown. The Bears took a 7-0 lead. Midway in the second quarter, it was 7-3. Pitch out. Avellini to Walter Payton. You know about number 34. Look at him burst through that gaping hole. This play good for 26 yards. The very next play, 1 yard and a touchdown for Payton. He had another great day, 163 yards in all. So it was 14-3 and then 14-10. And then this. Again, Walter Payton. 7 yards. Touchdown. His 14th of the year. That ties Gale Sayers' team record. And so the Bears beat the Pack 21-10. and kept their playoff hopes alive as Saturday's Minnesota-Detroit game becomes crucial. Schaefer Stadium was also freezing place, an ice box. Couldn't feel your hands, except if you were New England in the first quarter, ahead 7-0. This, Sam Bam Cunningham over the top. Touchdown, the Patriots with a quick 14-0 lead. As the half ran out, Miami scored on a premium field goal, 14-3. In the second half, a totally different game. Miami kept its poise, its defense tightened, and then in the top of the fourth quarter, they got back into the game with this pass from Greasy and Matt Moore. That made it 14-10. Schuler worried, but proud of his team always. They had held together. Now, 4th and 12 on the New England 18-yard line late in the fourth quarter. The pass intended for Big Boo Boulash just over his outstretched hands, and so New England won a big one, 14-10 over Miami, creating a three-way tie in the AFC East. Cold wasn't the problem in Oakland, California. Bad hands were the problem. Minnesota fumbled 4 times its first 8 plays. Right there, McClanahan fumbled, 60-0 to Sistrunk recovered. Here, watch Chuck Foreman. He will fumble, and 52, Floyd Rice will recover ultimately right there. And then Tommy Kramer, the quarterback from Rice, fumbles. Willie Hall picks it off, 2 yards in, touchdown. By then it was Oakland 21-0 over Minnesota, all in the first quarter. Early in the second quarter, with that score still standing, watch this. Mark Van Eegen, 30, fumbles. Nate Wright picks up the ball, goes right. Good downfield blocking, 27 yards, touchdown, 21-7. But Oakland was doing to Minnesota what they did at the very start of this year in the Super Bowl. And here, late in the third quarter, Stabler launches one deep to Cliff Branch. Touchdown, 28-7. They moved it up to 35-7. It was a breeze. With just a minute 30 in the game remaining, Tommy Kramer finally hits Sammy White. Touchdown, 35-13, the final score. But if Minnesota beats Detroit this Saturday night, right here on ABC, you'll see it, Minnesota will still be in the playoffs.
Everybody has somebody somewhere. And now's the time to see them with United Airlines Freedom.
Roger Staubach broke a thumb. He had problems during the course of the year. But I think the big thing with Roger, and I talked to him at length coming back after the Pro Bowl, was he was so disheartened. Last year, Roger Staubach felt he was all the offense Dallas had. He felt every play was his. He had to win every game. This year, it's a little different story because of a man named Tony Dorsett. He's given the Cowboys a new dimension. And he really lived up to all of his ratings, his clippings last week. And Tony Dorsett went for 206 yards, a Cowboy record. Band continuing to play. There was a ceremony earlier on the field. One of the greats of all time, Jimmy Johnson, who wore that number 37 so many times. As a matter of fact, against me, and wore it so well for so many years, 16, I believe. He retired number 37. His brother, Rayford Johnson, the Olympic decathlon champion, was here in a very moving ceremony. The jersey will never be worn again by a 49er. A suitable tribute to a great cornerback, a great man, Jimmy Johnson, who for so many years anchored the left side defensively for the 49ers. While you watch the bands, we'll tell you a little bit about our College Bowl lineup coming up. The Liberty Bowl we've been talking to you about already this evening. That comes up next Monday night. Nebraska goes against North Carolina, 2 highly ranked teams, plus special tribute to Elvis Presley, who made his home in Memphis. That's 1 week from tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Then the Gator Bowl, Friday night, December the 30th. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time. Pittsburgh against Clemson. The Sugar Bowl. Ohio State goes against Alabama, and that's saying that Woody Hayes goes against Bear Bryant, 2 of the great college coaches of all time. Then Monday, January the 2nd, that, of course, is the Sugar Bowl game. You know, those 2 coaches have a combined career record of coaching victories, Howard, of 503. Woody Hayes and Bear Bryant.
Well, Woody Hayes has more victories than that. Yeah. In another frame of reference. The Big Bear, of course, a remarkable man, a remarkable coach.
And we wind it all up January the 7th. The Hula Bowl, the Eastern All-Stars seniors versus the All-Star seniors from the West. All coming your way on ABC. Still the ones. I wish they would have warned us.
This could be the last hurrah.
Mary. Yes. And, of course, we wish all of you the same. A very happy holiday. A good New Year. If you're driving around somewhere, be careful, because a lot of other folks will be driving around out there with you. Great fireworks display. As Howard characterized this game, a festive attitude, even with a 5-7 record for the 49ers. It was not a sellout, but a tremendous crowd has turned out. They're having some fun.
Well, they did sense upset here, and it's still possible. They sensed it because, oh, my...
Hey, Howard.
Look at Santa Claus.
That's Evil Claus.
You know who's just walked in here?
Yes, number 12 in your program.
John Brody, who conducted the ceremony for Jimmy Johnson.
Perhaps the most remarkable quarterback ever to escape near assassination at Keyshaw, John Brody.
And Kurt Dowdy's new sidekick.
Good
We're
seeing you,
delighted
John.
to have you.
You've been doing good. Tell Kurt hello for me.
All right. Cowboy, cowboy, burning
You
bright
bet.
in the forest of the night.
I'll do it. She's right next door.
John Brody paying a little visit to the booth.
Nice man.
He really is a nice man. And he works with an awful nice man, old Kurt Gowdy. I've listened to him over in Pittsburgh. They were both cold the other day. I guess Cincinnati they were. Got a little cold.
The cowboy from Wyoming.
You bet.
Halftime show winding up. Both teams are out on the field being submerged now by the combined marching bands that have appeared. There's Roger Staubach again. This year he has a little more help than he did last year. He knows that he has a man that can erupt and provide the game winner at any time. Fred Herrera making a few practice licks on the sideline. We'll be getting underway in just a moment.
It's going to take a while for this smoke to clear out there.
Well, that could be a good factor for San Francisco in the smoke.
You're always thinking.
Dallas over San Francisco, 21-14. Again, we'll remind you for Dallas a win tonight or a win next week against Denver, and they'll play in Dallas. But assure Dallas, if they win their first playoff game, because they've already won their division, they would be assured that they would play the NFC Championship game in Dallas.
May I assure you that that is not the morning fog chilling the air.
Must not be Camelot then.
Well, I'll tell you, that has totally obscured the field.
Well, they should do something about that, don't you think?
Incidentally, while we have a chance, as you see figures dimly in the smoke,
The Star Wars we have down here?
a breaking news story today, and one that must be taken seriously because it has to do with the proliferation of violence in the sports arenas. The LA Lakers forward Kermit Washington was fined by the NBA $10,000 and suspended for 60 days. Commissioner Lawrence O'Brien took the action. Why? He punched Rudy Tomjanovich of the Houston Rockets last week. Tomjanovich hospitalized. News of the fine and suspension came out today. Tomjanovich's jaw and nose were broken. The penalty of 60 days is the longest without pay in the NBA's history. That announcement made because all of us connected with sports in this country are disturbed, and deeply so, by the kind of violence we have been seeing within the arenas all over the land. It's not what sports is supposed to be all about.
Amen.
The smoke beginning to clear somewhat. I think they might have over-fireworked us a little bit.